Awesome.
Today I have with me Jackson Calame,
Callum.
Jackson Calame. I'll get that right one of these times. Uh, we were just talking, and Jackson happens to be from New Braunfels. When I moved here from Flatonia, when New Braunfels,
Yeah.
Jackson's looking it up now, but New Braunfels and Flatonia, Texas, are just probably an hour, 45 minutes away from each other.
Yeah.
And we just recently moved up here to Missouri about 45 minutes ago, so we were actually pretty close at one time on that. But Jackson, he teaches visionary entrepreneurs how to unlock sustainable revenue growth and expand their legacy by becoming a power brand in their market. So Jackson indicates that about 96% of businesses fail within the first 10 years. He's going to teach you not only how to avoid failure, but how to win by becoming a true leader in your market. Jackson is the founder and CEO of First Class Business and the host of Vision Pros Live podcast. So Jackson, thank you for being here today.
Gregory, it's my honor. Appreciate you and what you do in the franchise world.
Thank you, sir. So let's get started with the basic. What inspired you to start your company, and what are the main services that it offers?
Great question. Probably about 10 years of creating startups, incubating companies, realizing how hard it was. Many successes and failures along that. My first startup was invested in by Paul Buchheit, the inventor of Gmail, and Matt Cutts, the search director of Google. We were a Y
Wow.
Combinator, and that company, 5 months into it, I found myself losing my job. I was the first employee hired, and I came back to work the next day, and the founder said, "What are you doing?" I just laid everybody off, and I said, "I'm going to my desk and I'm making my calls." And he said, "You can't do that. You can't. I'm not going to pay you." And I said, "That's okay. I'm this close." And so with $537 left in his company bank account, I ended up closing 21 newspapers. What does that
Wow.
mean? I was 21 newspapers who were investing in our digital revenue services. It was the tune of about $35,000. It wasn't massive, but it did save the company. And 2 weeks later, Paul Buchheit and Matt Cutt sent us $10 million. That's not the typical startup story.
No.
Most startups do not make it. That stat, 96%, it's not my stat. That's the Small Business Administration stat, smallbusinessadministration.gov. Also, if you look up, there's another government entity that has a stat that says only 65% of startups fail within 10 years. I would never send my kids to a school where the failure rate was far higher than the success rate. And that's where entrepreneurs are at. They're stuck learning from outdated programs, fads, trends, social media, hype. We can do better than that for entrepreneurs. As entrepreneurs, we need to be assessing more clearly what are we going to do to drive success for ourselves and who's actually been successful with this stuff.
So what do you do? What is the process that you take these businesses through to make sure that they are a power brand and they are successful?
The first thing is recognizing who's ready to run a business, and that's probably the hardest part. Is business is not easy. And I don't want to tell everybody, hey, don't try, don't go for it, but life is about hard work. We earn our bread by the sweat of our brow. If you don't want to work hard, I can't help you. That's number one. Number two, I can't guarantee you success, right? You can put in all the work to run the marathon, but if you break your ankle before the marathon happens, I can't control that. So there's external factors that can't be controlled. So I look for leaders who are willing to look at the internal reality of how self-aware are they? How willing are they to participate in this? How willing are they to take responsibility for their actions? Those aspects may not be very sexy, but they're the aspects that to me are most important in the leadership realm. And then we simplify the business funnel. Intrigue, attract, and inspire. Too many businesses are inviting and offering, and what does it look like? It's these LinkedIn messages that say, "Oh, hey, it looks like we're connected to so and so. By the way, we do these case studies, and you should really buy from us, and we should start a relationship up." Like, whoa, calm down. Where was the, "Hi, how are you? My name's Jackson." Intrigue, attract, and inspire. If we go back to basic principles of relationships, we can make tidal waves of success happen with business. But helping the world catch the vibe, to slow it down, make it a little bit more personal, not worry so much about the automation, worry about the relationships that you have. It sounds simple, but if more people would do that, they'd see different results.
Jackson, you talked about you want to work with only people that are willing to actually put in the work for it. So, other than that, is there any other factor that for your ideal client or people that you normally work with, or you can just work with anybody?
Tons of ideal factors. Absolutely. So some of the essence is I found that entrepreneurs who have been at the game for more than 5 years, they tend to have gotten beaten up enough to know that it's hard, and now they're a little bit more humble, right? So humility is a big factor. If they're not coachable, not teachable, it's because they still haven't figured out that they don't know it all yet. That's a reality that I had to face many times on my journey as well. There's a lot of things I had to learn to be a better business owner, a better leader, more compliant, more diplomatic in how I do things. There's almost a never-ending track path of things that, as organizations, right, brands, that we have to figure out. Entrepreneurship's a team sport, so I'm also looking for people who want teams. If I want to recruit LeBron James, who's behind my wall, or rather behind me on the wall here, breaking the scoring record, the last question I should walk up to him and as I ask is, how much does it cost to work with you? If that's my intro question, he already knows I have a scarcity mindset. I have a championship level mindset. If I have a championship level mindset, I'm going to come forward with, hey, LeBron, here's a blank sheet of paper. This is my offer letter to you. What do you want? How do we inspire you to want to come over to the Lakers and help us build our dynasty back up? All right, there's a negotiation process that occurs at championship levels that people who have not been in championship level environments usually don't really comprehend and understand. So I'm looking for those types of people who either want to say, hey, you know what? I want that. I want a championship level team. I want to learn what it takes to build championship level cultures, or people who already have those championship level cultures. We usually use, Greg, our podcast as a means to recognize those. It's called Vision Pros Live. And I can see when I first meet these visionary entrepreneurs coming in, we see how their tone and their cadence and their behavior plays out in that environment. And based on the way they answer certain questions, we can see what quality of leader they are. And it helps us know, should we extend an invitation to do more with them? Or should we say, it was great to meet you. We'll see you down the road. Goodbye.
There you go. So, benefits to our listeners for listening to you. What are the benefits? What do they get? What do they get out of listening to you?
You know, it may sound cliche, but we want people to have absolute freedom. And that scares most people. That's the twist nobody talks about. When you have absolute freedom of choice, which means if people learn that our program is a pay what you want model, it scares the heck out of people. They have no idea how to deal with that. Well,
Yeah.
what do you mean? I thought you were gonna create a safe box for me. I thought you were gonna do a done for you presentation that's supposedly customized, but yet somehow it's already cookie cutter. That doesn't make any sense. There's no freedom of choice in buying a prepackaged service. Freedom of choice means that you've got to show up vulnerably and be able to own, like, okay, this is where I'm stuck, this is where I'm at, this is what I know, this is what I don't know. And you have to be able to have conversations that may make you a little bit uncomfortable as a leader. So freedom of choice comes with a certain degree of responsibilities that most people don't want. If you want those, then come and talk to us. We'll work something out, but it has to be mutually beneficial. Everybody involved in the equation has to win. And if we can create a relationship based on a scope of work that's not arbitrary and pre-planned, it's based on what your needs are, then hey, come and talk to me. Let's do it.
Very true. Very true. You got to want it. You got to want to go out there and get it. And you want to got to work for it, not just skate on by and just follow the same things all the time.
You're leading by example with this, Greg. I saw it on your website.
Is
I
it?
saw one of your questions in there. You're providing that type of service and an open nature, transparency regarding franchises. So I laud you for that. I hope more leaders step up and see the opportunity to give more in order to gain more.
True. True. I do help a lot of people. I give them whatever they need, and if they want to take that step further, then come see me. If you don't, here's my book. Go read about it, and call me when you're ready. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So you've been an entrepreneur now for how long?
Oh, my first true venture was right after that stint where I was the first employee hired. Right after that, I mean, everybody that we sold to wanted to recruit me. It's funny and thing about sales, right? You sell to
Yeah,
somebody they
yeah,
want, and sell to an entrepreneur. The entrepreneur wants you to sell for them.
yeah.
So pretty shortly after, there was this restaurant software company that wanted me to help them grow, and I was offered a publishing position at 3 newspapers as well. Part of that deal, right?
Hmm.
But I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I really wanted to scale to become a founder, so I became a junior co-founder of Restaurant Connect. I mean,
Cool.
previous to that, I was in network marketing. And so, the entrepreneur word, I don't know what it's like these days. You never know what it's like, to start fresh if you've been at it for years. But back then, as an independent contractor, I did not consider myself an entrepreneur until listening to tapes, right? I listened to Rich Dad Poor Dad and started learning like, oh, maybe I am an entrepreneur. And I met my first serial entrepreneur and I was like, whoa, that sounds cool. I had to look up what the word cereal meant first. But, just entrepreneur, how do you define it? I don't know. For me, I would define, I once heard later, it was a couple years after that, I heard somebody say, wantrepreneur. And I was like, oh, that's kind of mean. But what it was elite circle of very successful entrepreneurs who were kind of tired of the solopreneurs out there and the wantrepreneurs who weren't really doing what they needed to do in order to win at greater scales. So an entrepreneur, to me, it's somebody who wants to have a team, somebody who wants to be a great leader, and somebody who has an interest in scaling their business to a pretty extreme degree, while also potentially having multiple businesses under their belt. And I don't know who would want that after Elon Musk said, you have to be crazy to launch a business. It's like eating glass. It kind of is. You do have to be a little bit crazy to do it.
You do, and I work with a lot of crazy people, wonderful, absolutely crazy people that go into business all the time. And yeah, you got to have that mindset. You got to have a little bit of risk tolerance, and not wanting the usual status quo.
That's
Um,
right. No status quo.
it,
None whatsoever around me.
it's kind of funny. A lot of my people are corporate refugees who have realized that later on in life, like I did later on in life, that this just ain't working and it's not going to work. And Rich Dad Poor Dad is a good example of a book that has ruined many a corporate career on that.
Well said.
Yeah, including
Congratulations,
mine.
Robert Kiyosaki, on that.
Yeah,
Yes.
he did. After I read his book, that was it for my corporate career when I was 49. So you've been working for yourself and doing your own thing for quite some time. So you know what
I
it
was
takes.
22. I should have said that. I'm
22.
sorry. I was 22. I'm 36 now.
Okay. So here we are, 14 years later. You built your business up to a huge thing. You built it up to a power brand, where people are talking about you and you help people out. Is
I
that
hope
right?
so. I mean,
Okay.
I'll be as transparent as possible on that.
Mhm.
We are a 3-year startup at
Mhm.
First Class Business.
Okay.
We launched our podcast a little over a year ago now, um, and we've been involved in some really cool client projects. We are by no means a Google, or an Airbnb by any sense of the imagination. I don't want people to. I know people love to hype that stuff up, and they want me to stand in front of a nice car and put some sunglasses on, and go to an airplane I don't own and stand in front of that too. But I'm with you, Greg. You're like, no, no.
Yeah.
That's not the point. What I am grateful for is, the tangibles. I'm a single father of 4, right? My kiddos in the other room. If they burst through the store, I'll receive them lovingly. Why? Because not enough people make room for family within the business operations. I think that's sad for a lot of family reasons out there. 2, we haven't gotten to the 10-year hump, but Own Local did. Restaurant Connect made it to 20 years.
Oh, cool. Hmm.
Let's see here. The Pivot Point got shut down in a non-compete lawsuit.
Oh,
Caesar turned around, had to countersue because they wouldn't play nice, ended up winning that and launched 3 new brands.
cool.
So there's, in video power marketing, they're still in business. It's been almost 10 years now. Dr. Eric Berg has gone from 106,000 subscribers on YouTube to over 12 million subscribers on YouTube.
Impressive.
Michael Hyatt, T. Harv Eckert, Even Pagan, Billie Jean Marketing, Vivint. We've had some really cool clients throughout the different companies that I've worked with that inspired me to launch First Class Business. But yes, First Class Business is very much still in incubation levels as a company. And I hope that within the next year, we put ourselves in position to have a 6-month cash reserve so that we can be in a better position to potentially raise capital at higher levels and take things up yet another notch. But right now, we just went from 1 host of Vision Pros Live to 5 hosts on that show. And our production crew has gone from really 2 to 3 primary assistants with that to over 7 people who help with the production and distribution of that show in addition to those 5 co-hosts. So we're moving, we're trying to make moves, but what we won't do, and again, I hope those listening, and I hope this is valuable to you and the audience, don't be scared to cinch the hose of growth, right? No, too many businesses want to just scale and never, just see the hockey stick. But when you're scaling, it's important to take a breather, step back and look at it and see, are we scaling and building raving fans at the same time? Or are we scaling in spite of all the customers that we gathered a testimonial that says, oh, I love Jackson, he's amazing. But where's the depth of case study with that? There's so many marketing bros and companies out there right now that are making their own victories on the backs of people who are not succeeding, that it's something that I can't help but bring up. It's a sickness in our society right now that needs to be addressed. We really need to be more responsible as leaders out there, and not just herald our victories as the only thing that ever happens. Scale. It drives me crazy.
That's a good point, Jackson. So once you get to a certain point, you scale it up for a little ways. You need to stop for a little bit.
Well, one of the books on that, $100 Million Offer by Alex Hormozy, I really, really like his style. I don't know him personally. I do know that he wrote about that first startup in that book. He wrote about Lloyd, the founder of the newspaper company. He changes the story a little bit. So that's interesting. I look forward to talking about that someday. But the way Alex talks about positioning your offer is making sure that you know your thresholds. Know how many people you can bring in so that you can actually use scarcity and urgency ethically. And it also positions you into that. Like, so for us, we wouldn't take on more than 2 clients of a budget north of $150,000 in operations at this time. That would be the max. If 2 people came in and offered that, we'd come in and scale with them. And every 2 weeks as an executive team, we would then assess, how are we doing? Are we in a position to bring another client on at this level, or are we not? If we bring on 20 clients at a $5,000 a month deal, same thing. We would take a breath. We would look at it and say, okay, are our clients happy? Are they getting the results that they want? Are we on track? Are our procedures, resources, and templates upheld? Are our people well supported? Then we can look at how do we scale from here. But it's not a linear process. You want to be constantly evaluating, in my opinion.
That's amazing, because some of the franchises I work with, and most of the really great franchises that I work with, will do the same thing. They'll start bringing in franchisees. Yeah, exactly, Jackson. They've done that, and they'll get up to 50, and they'll say, okay, we've grown 50 in the last 2 years. Or 50 in a year, whatever it is. That's huge. Let's stop, make certain we've got them all taken care of, help them grow up, and then we're gonna restart offering franchises again. So
I love it.
Spot on.
Thank you. That's helpful to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, spot on with what you do. They're just great, because we've seen a few that didn't do that. And what happens is that they end up with a bunch of disgruntled franchisees because they're getting no support when they grow 500 in a year. And now with the same system that they have, it just doesn't work. You're absolutely spot on with that.
One that all of us know, and I'm not casting shade. They might take it that way. I hope not. I hope they see it as a learning opportunity to fix what they've created, would be Vivint. If you look up Vivint in Austin, they're not a franchise, but the market for security systems is all about independent subcontractors. So if you were to just Google Vivint Austin reviews, you'd find that their Yelp reviews are at like a 1.3 star.
Ouch.
With 300 plus reviews. That's out of control growth, right? That's not something that they're not doing well in that market. Now, maybe they're price gouging people. I don't know. Maybe they have a model that is sustainable for now. But that's not the type of reputation you want in order to build a legacy for the long term. And so my hope is that whoever is in charge of those operations, managers, directors, CEOs, founders, etc., take a look at that. And they say, you know what? We can make an adjustment here and change. Domino's did that. Domino's came out with a commercial and they said, our pizza sucks. We're just going to tell you. And then they said, we're going to fix it. Right? That was a brilliant move. Now they're expanding again. We can all exercise humility as leaders and fix our own problems.
Well put. Well put on that. I love it. So you're going to help them become their power brand. You're not going to take on too many people at one time, only a few. They come to you, but they've got to be ready to work for it. What else should people know? Anything that I haven't asked you yet that people should know about Jackson and First Class Business?
Oh man, I think with any leader that you gravitate towards, anybody that's written a book, right? Anybody that has a program, realize that there's a whole depth of well behind that program. If you feel like you want to be part of it, then make sure to reach out, and talk to the individual. Go to the source, learn what you can. Firstclassbusiness.io. You go to our website, you'll see the power launch on there. I did a 2-hour webinar. Every single minute for that matters. It's 14 years of trial and error compact into 2 hours to save you all the time and hassle of what I had to learn along the way.
Cool.
If you survive that, you'll see at the end, most people don't know this, Greg, they hear $5,000 a month is the offer for that. Why do I do that? To get people to go away. People who are sensitive when it comes to financial conversations. I can't help you if you're too sensitive, right? So then it says, well, you can also invest $44,000 up front instead of $5,000 a month. That's $16,000 in savings. Once again, that's designed to push people away. People who, I'm not pushing, I'm not telling you to go away. I'm just making it a little bit harder for you to understand, man, I don't know if I'm qualified for this. Then it jump cuts and says $49 a month if you want to do it all yourself. And that's designed to get people to go away once again. But people who listen to your program and have the time to have what's called the skill to listen to understand, right? And they want to value what it is we're putting down. They learn that no, we actually have a freemium business model. You can have free access to the entire thing and look behind the scenes, use the infrastructure. If you've got a great team, ask your team to look at the infrastructure and utilize it. Within 45 to 180 days, you should be on the road to $20,000 in new revenues per month for your venture. You got to do your part. There's about 55 hours worth of work included in that. That's one element. Those who speak Spanish, our program Oportunidades de Trabajo para Latinos, we're bridging the economic gap between North and South America.
Cool.
How are we doing that? Providing opportunities to Latinos. If you want to help with that, come help. If you'd benefit from that, come join that. That certification program creates virtual assistants. Unlike any virtual assistant I think anybody who's listening has ever worked with. They are absolutely outstanding because we train them on how to become excellent virtual assistants. So there's a lot of depth there, Greg, but anything I can do to help anybody who's listening in any capacity, I'll do my best or refer them to somebody who can.
Love it, Jackson. That is awesome. How can they get a hold of you if they want to learn more? You've already mentioned a couple websites. Any place particular?
Social media, firstclassbusiness.io, Jackson Calame on Google. I mean, I'm the only one, so you could say I'm the SEO king, but in reality, it's nice to be the only one. So feel free to reach out any way you'd like, guys.
Good deal. Jackson, thank you very much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
It's a lot of fun, Greg. Appreciate you, man.
Take care.